Hello and welcome back to the Creative Hero Inc. channel. As promised, we're kicking things off with our very first completely free drawing lesson. Lesson 1. Understanding perspective drawing. Alright, let's start by laying down our horizon line. This is basically the viewer's eye level in the scene. Next, I'll drop in a vertical line, and where these two meet, that's our vanishing point. Now, I'm going to draw a square right on top of that vanishing point. Notice how the square completely overlaps it. Because of that, you can't actually see any perspective lines. The shape is sitting exactly in front of the vanishing point, so nothing appears to recede. We call this a 2D drawing. But if we move that same square to the right of the vanishing point, everything changes. Now you can clearly see two sides of the square stretching back toward the vanishing point. This is where perspective kicks in. Let's add a couple more squares, one above and one below, on the same side of the page. As they move around the page, different sides of each square become visible. That's because the viewer's angle relative to each shape changes. But no matter where the squares go, all of those receding edges will always aim straight toward the vanishing point. And that's the magic of one-point perspective. Everything lines up, everything connects, and the whole drawing instantly starts to feel three-dimensional. Now that we've warmed up with one-point perspective, let's level up. Two-point perspective. I start again with a horizon line, but this time I'm placing two vanishing points. One on the far left and one on the far right. These 2 points will control how our objects twist in space. Let's draw the first cube above the horizon line. Right away you can see the top face because it's positioned higher than our eye level. The side edges angle in toward each vanishing point, giving the cube that nice rotated in space look. Now let's drop in another cube below the horizon line. This time the top face disappears. Instead, we're looking up at the bottom of the cube, and again all its receding edges aim toward our left and right vanishing points. Two-point perspective is great for showing corners facing the viewer. It instantly makes shapes feel more dynamic. Three-point perspective. We keep vanishing points 1 and 2 on the horizon line, and then add a third vanishing point vertically. In this case, it's above the page. This point controls how the vertical edges taper. First, I draw a cube closer to the bottom of the page. Because we're looking up at it, the vertical edges are no longer straight. They converge upward toward that third vanishing point. Then I draw another tall form above the horizon line, and I exaggerate its height to really show how dramatic this third vanishing point can be. You can see all the vertical edges shrinking toward that top vanishing point, while the horizontal edges still pull toward vanishing points 1 and 2. This creates a really powerful sense of depth. Even a simple box feels like a skyscraper. And that's the beauty of 2-point and 3-point perspective. By changing the number and placement of vanishing points, we can tilt the camera, rotate objects, and create a huge range of dramatic, believable forms. But you're probably asking yourself, okay, cool boxes, but how is this supposed to help me draw my superheroes? And honestly, fair question. Well, let's kick it up a notch. Instead of cubes, let's switch to cylinders. And what can we do with cylinders? Build our superhero, of course. Because underneath all the capes, muscles, and dramatic posing, your hero is basically a stack of well-organized tubes. Don't tell them I said that. And that's a wrap for today. I'd love to hear your feedback. And hey, go ahead and subscribe. Side effects are minimal and usually include better drawing skills. Welcome back. In lesson 1, we learned how to draw cubes in perspective without crying too much. Today, we're taking the next logical step, turning boring cubes into buildings that actually look like buildings. No superheroes yet, just architecture. Let's start simple. Draw a horizon line. Place 2 vanishing points. Now, draw 1 cube. This cube is not a building yet. Right now, it's just a cube with dreams. Keep the lines clean. Don't add details. This is the skeleton. If the skeleton is wrong, the building will also be wrong, just like in real life. Take a second and really look at the cube. Top plane, left plane, right plane. Everything we add later will respect these planes. Now we'll take the same cube and start converting it into a building. First rule: details follow perspective. Always. Every window edge goes to the same vanishing points as the cube. Freestyle lines. FYI, perspective is not impressed by confidence. Think of the cube as a block of clay. We're not drawing new shapes, we're carving into it. Suddenly, the cube stops looking like math homework and starts looking like a place with rent. We're starting from the reference image, but don't panic. Ignore the character for a moment. Yes, he's cool. Yes, he's judging your perspective. But today, the buildings are the real stars. The first thing I do is block the space with simple cubes. Not buildings, not windows. Just cubes floating politely in perspective. Each cube represents a future building. Right now, they all look like storage units. That's normal. Now I arrange the cubes. Some closer, some farther. Different heights. Same horizon. Same vanishing points. No rebels allowed. Once the cubes feel like they belong together, I upgrade them. Windows appear. Roof lines show up. Edges behave themselves. I don't detail everything. Close buildings get attention. Far buildings get respect from a distance. At some point, the cubes stop being cubes. They quietly turn into a city. No drama, no magic, just perspective doing its job. If it works, great. Clearly, I'm an excellent teacher. If it doesn't, let's say the marker had creative differences. And hey, go ahead and subscribe. Side effects are minimal and usually include insanely improved drawing skills. Alright, we've drawn boxes. We've turned boxes into buildings. At this point, you're basically a licensed box architect. But today, we're breaking the box. Relax, it's not illegal. Probably. Because the real world isn't made entirely of cubes. I know, shocking. Lampposts, poles, trees, fire hydrants, even people are just extremely complicated tubes. So today, we're meeting the box's cooler cousin, the cylinder. Good news, cylinders are just boxes in disguise. Bad news, they know it, and they're a little smug about it. Here's the trick. Every cylinder starts as a box. Same perspective, same vanishing points, no new math, no surprise geometry attacks. If you can draw a box, you can draw a cylinder. If you can't draw a box, go back to the first video. I'll wait. Done? Okay, step 1. Draw a box in perspective. Step 2. Pretend the box is embarrassed about its sharp corners, so we soften them. Inside the top face, draw an ellipse. That's a fancy word for squished circle, not an egg, a calm, confident oval. Repeat that ellipse on the bottom face, then connect them. Boom, the cylinder. You didn't summon a demon. You didn't break perspective. You just upgraded your drawing skills. Now let's turn this into real stuff. This cylinder, lamppost. This one, water tower. Make it tall and dramatic. And yes, arms and legs are cylinders too. But we're not touching anatomy yet. That's a future us problem. Future you is brave. Present you is learning lampposts. If this helped, hit like. If it didn't, hit like anyway. It builds character. Subscribe for more drawing lessons, fewer math nightmares, and perspective that actually makes sense. Alright, go draw something tall, round, and heroic. I'll see you in the next one. Up to now, everything we've drawn has been very polite. Boxes minding their own business, cylinders standing respectfully apart. But real drawings? They get in each other's way. Artists call this overlap. I call it stuff blocking other stuff. Smart, I know. And honestly, that's the whole secret. Alright, let's just mess around. Draw a box, put another one on top, maybe slide one off to the side, a couple more over here. Yeah, that works. Throw one back there, one here, cut this out a bit. Thicken these lines, this one too. Add a ramp or something, why not? And suddenly, congratulations, you just created depth. Did you move a vanishing point? No. Did you change perspective rules? Also no. You just let one box be a little rude. Now let's get fancy. Put a cylinder in front of a box. Part of the box disappears. That's not a mistake, that's depth. Perspective loves confidence. If you hide something on purpose, it looks intentional. If you hide it accidentally, it's modern art. Here's another powerful trick. I'm not calling this composition. That word scares people. Let's call it stuff close, stuff kinda close, stuff way over there. Big shapes in front, medium shapes in the middle, tiny shapes in the back. That's it. That's the rule. Perspective handles the rest while you pretend this was your plan all along. If things start overlapping and it feels messy, good. Clean drawings look flat. Interesting drawings bump into each other. Art is just controlled chaos with better marketing. So today you learn, overlap creates depth. Bigger equals closer. Smaller equals farther. And hiding things is actually helpful. If this helped, hit like. If it didn't, hit like anyway. It builds character. Subscribe for more drawing lessons. I'll see you in the next one. If you've been following along, you might not realize this yet, but you already know enough to draw space that makes sense. No anatomy, no details, no stress. Just shapes behaving themselves. Mostly. Squares stayed flat. Cubes stood upright. Everyone knew their place. Well, this one didn't. Nothing changed. We're just looking at it differently. Artists call it a cylinder. Eventually, it finds a spot. And once it stops rolling around, it finally knows what it wants to be. Everything you're seeing now, towers, pipes, domes, started life as something very boring. A box that learned how to exist in space. So here's your assignment, if you feel like it. Draw a box.
Then let it fall. See what it turns into. Sometimes it just needs one shape, being a little rude. Drawing isn't some magical gift you're born with. Nobody comes out of the womb shading cubes perfectly. Drawing is a skill, and skills are trained slowly, awkwardly, and sometimes painfully. Yes, sometimes drawing is boring. You're stuck drawing lines, then more lines, then squares, then cubes that clearly don't want to be cubes. Even the cubes are like, I was meant to be a dragon. I get it. But here's the deal. Drawing comes with sacrifices. You have to survive the boring stuff to unlock the fun stuff. There's no shortcut around it. You don't skip the boring reps and magically become amazing. You push through them. So go ahead. Draw stuff that blocks other stuff. Draw lines. Draw boxes. Draw cubes. Even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Especially if it's just 10 minutes a day. Do it for yourself. Do it consistently. Do it for a year. And hey, while you're at it, subscribe to my channel and keep liking the videos. Of course, you're already drawing cubes. What do you have to lose? Nothing to lose. Everything to gain. If this helped, hit like. If it didn't, hit like anyway. It builds character. Subscribe for more drawing lessons. I'll see you in the next one. Hello and welcome back to Creative Hero Inc.'s drawing lessons. So far, we've watched a cube learn how to exist in space. Perspective, depth, gravity. Eventually. Now, it's your turn. Nothing scary. Just 5 beginner drawing exercises. And no chemical engineering. I checked. I'm pretty sure there's nothing of the sort. The 5 beginner drawing exercises. They'll either improve your drawing fast, or at least you'll be able to say you tried. Exercise 1. Lines. Everything starts with lines. Yes, technically everything starts with a dot, but today we're pretending it doesn't, because I didn't draw a dot. I drew a line. So, lines. Not perfect ones, not confident ones, just lines willing to show up. This exercise is simple. Draw lines from one side of the page to the other. Long lines, short lines, wavy lines. Don't correct them. Don't slow down to fix mistakes. This isn't about accuracy. It's about your hand learning how to move. Artists call it muscle memory. I call it teaching your hand to behave. And it never does. But that's not the point. Anyway, let's move on. Why is this important? You will see later, specifically when you're drawing an animal using nothing but lines. But for now, we'll start with this kind of chart, or whatever you want to call it, just so you can draw as many lines as possible. If you don't have a printer, draw it yourself. You need the line practice anyway. Exercise 2. Shapes. Once the lines calm down, they start forming opinions. Squares, circles, triangles. These aren't finished drawings. They're the foundation. Start with simple boxes, just volume, just space. Then the same shapes begin to combine. They lean, they overlap, they hint at structure. Eventually, shapes become a figure, not details, just forms working together. If a shape feels uncomfortable to draw, everything built on top of it will feel worse. This exercise isn't about making art. It's about learning the language your drawings are made of. Exercise 3. Shape combos. One shape is a statement. Two shapes is where things get interesting. This exercise is about combining shapes. No details, no shading, just decisions. Which shape supports which? Which one is doing the heavy lifting? Let structure form. This is how drawings start feeling intentional. Now it's your turn. Draw your very own shape combo. Start with 3 shapes. No, I take it back. Start with 4. No, 5. Actually, 6. Use many, many shapes. Yes, use as many shapes as you can. Let me know in the comments. How many did you use? Exercise 4. Spheres, blobs, and organic forms. Up to now, everything's been very polite. Straight lines, sharp corners. Everything standing at attention. Let's ruin that. Spheres, blobs, organic shapes. These are shapes without strict rules. They don't care about perfect edges. They bend, they stretch, they forgive mistakes. That's exactly why they're important. They teach you flow. They teach you movement. And most importantly, they're very hard to mess up. If it looks strange, good. That means it's working. Exercise 5. Shape breakdowns. Now comes the magic trick. Take something complicated and remove the details. What's left is just shapes. This is how artists see. Not better, just simpler. Very disappointing, I know. These 5 exercises do one thing. They teach you how to think before you draw. If you practice them, your drawings will improve. And if you don't, you can still say you tried. Now, pick your favorite animal. A pet, an object, your mom, your dad, a sibling, whatever you have handy. Break it down into shapes. And remember, the goal isn't to create art. It's to see shapes. If this helped, hit like. If it didn't, hit like anyway. It builds character. Subscribe for more drawing lessons. I'll see you in the next one. Last week, we discovered that light and shadow exist. Big news. We also learned that we can represent them using different types of lines, which gives our drawings depth. And yes, perspective already gives depth. But today, we're not easily impressed. So in this lesson, we're talking about how light and shadow actually make a difference. A noticeable one. A wow, this suddenly looks real kind of difference. So let's roll the intro and dive right in. Oh, wait, I don't have an intro. Let's just dive into it. Light and shadow. Let's say we have a sphere, just floating there, suspended in the air, living its best life. Now add a light source. The sun has chosen a side, and everything must agree with it. In this very serious, very binary universe, we immediately get 2 things: light and shadow. The side facing the sun gets the light. The other side does what shadows do best, tries very hard to hide. We call these highlights and core shadow. But now let's assume our object is not Superman. It has to obey gravity, like the rest of us. So it lands on a surface, and something else happens. The object casts a shadow onto the ground. This is called a cast shadow. Very creative name. But here's the fun part. The light that hits the ground doesn't just give up. It bounces back, and suddenly our object is being lit from underneath. Surprise! This is reflected light, a very polite secondary light source, and how strong it is depends entirely on the surface below. Bright surface, more light. Dark surface, not so much. Physics. Hatching. Now that we've politely skimmed the theory, let's see how we actually use light and shadow in our superhero drawings. Because theory is great, but lines on paper are better. So here I've got 4 squares. In the first square, I'll use simple parallel lines. Nothing fancy, just lines agreeing with each other. In the second square, the lines go vertical. Same idea, different attitude. But for some more intensity, we can add diagonal lines. In the third square, we stack diagonals on top of diagonals. More lines, more darkness. No extra effort, just commitment. Then we loosen up. Quick strokes, about 45 degrees. Fast, light, and slightly irresponsible. This is called hatching, and there are many styles. Cross-hatching, directional hatching, texture-based hatching. We're not memorizing names today. We're just noticing one thing. More lines equals darker. Fewer lines equals lighter. That's it. And once this clicks, you can throw it straight into your drawings. Same shapes, same heroes, just better light. So today, we learned that light and shadow aren't complicated. They just need to be decided. One light source, one shadow side, and enough lines to convince the viewer. Line weight tells us what matters. Hatching tells us how dark it gets. Same shapes, same drawing, better choices. For your assignment, keep it simple. Draw one shape, a cube, a cylinder, a sphere, whatever feels emotionally stable today. Pick one light direction. Fill the shadow side using only hatching. No blending, no smudging. Just lines doing their job. Do it once. Then do it again with fewer lines. Then once more with more lines. Congratulations, you've just practiced shading. On purpose. That's it for today. Go draw something, preferably with shadows. Up until now, we've been drawing things that exist. Lines learn discipline. Shapes learn cooperation. Light and shadow learned exactly where the sun likes to hang out. But today we ask a slightly dangerous question. What is this thing actually made of? Because a cube made of metal feels different than a cube made of wood. And wood, well, wood has opinions. So buckle up. Welcome to Lesson 9, Textures. Let's roll that intro and get our hands, metaphorically, dirty. Let's start where all wood begins. The tree. I'm not drawing every leaf. I'm not drawing realism. I'm drawing direction and rhythm. The trunk goes up. Branches split. Then split again. Like a decision that went wrong several times. Notice the bark. It's not random lines. It's long and short strokes, broken, uneven. Some lines are darker, some lighter. Some just gave up halfway. That's texture, not detail, suggestion. If you draw every crack, it becomes noise. If you suggest a few, The brain finishes the job for you. The tree looks alive and slightly judgmental. Perfect or not, all we need is practice. Now let's calm things down. Planks. This is wood after civilization happened. Here the grain behaves, mostly straight, mostly polite. I draw long parallel lines following the length of the plank. They curve slightly because wood used to be a tree and remembers that. Add a knot or two, not everywhere. One is enough to say, yes, this was alive once. Notice I'm not shading yet. Texture comes first, light later. Now we stack planks, a fence. Here's the trick. Don't make every plank unique. If everything is special, nothing is. I vary width, height, damage. But keep the grain language consistent. This tells the viewer, these belong together. It also tells the fence, you've seen things. Now, before you panic and think you need to draw every crack, every fiber, every traumatic life event this tree has been through, let's pause. Because even the great artists didn't do that. Here's the funny part. When you look at drawings from master artists, you'll notice something shocking. They don't draw everything. They draw just enough. Enough lines for your brain to go, oh, that's wood. Yep, bark. Probably splinters. And then your brain does the rest for free. That's not laziness. That's experience. This is not realistic drawing. This is convincing drawing. Realism tries to impress your eyes. Good drawing talks directly to your brain and says, relax, I got this. So if you're thinking, should I add more detail? The answer is usually no. Stop early. Leave room for imagination. Let the viewer work a little. Even the masters didn't overdo it. And if they didn't, you definitely don't have to. Let's start where everything still makes sense. A cube. Clean edges, clear planes. Light on one side, shadow on the other. This is the last moment of order. We shade it. Everything behaves. Nothing argues. So far, so good. Now let's look below. This little rock here, that's just a cube in disguise. Same planes, same logic, same light rules. It's pretending to be organic, but inside, it's still very geometric. We didn't invent new shading. We just broke the cube politely. Notice something important here. I'm not drawing every crack. I'm suggesting planes. Flat areas catch light. Broken planes catch shadow. That's enough. Now, let's go completely out of control. The mountains. No cube outline, no guide box, no safety net. But guess what? It's still planes. Big ones, tilted ones, stacked ones. Light hits some, others hide. Same rules, just louder shapes. This is the trick. You don't go from cube to mountain by adding detail. You go there by thinking in planes. Texture comes last. Light comes first. And geometry never really leaves. It just stops announcing itself. Now let's talk about shadows. Not the dramatic kind, the useful kind. The ones that actually make your drawings stop looking flat. We'll start with the cube, because cubes don't lie. A cube doesn't fade randomly. Each face has a job. One plane faces the light. That's the light side. One plane turns away. That's the shadow side. And one plane is just awkwardly in between. That's your value split. Light, midtone, shadow. No gradients yet. Everything is clear, very organized, very cube. Now watch what happens when the cube forgets its corners. We get a cylinder. Same light source, same rules. But now, the shadow can't decide where to stop. On a curved surface, light fades gradually. Bright highlight, soft midtones, then a darker band, the core shadow. Not at the edge, slightly before it. That's important. Because right after the darkest part, something strange happens. The shadow gets lighter again. That's reflected light. Light hits the ground, the environment, your hopes and dreams, and bounces back. It's weaker, it's subtle, but it saves your form from looking like a sticker. So when you shade a cylinder, think in zones. Highlight, light, midtone, core shadow, reflected light. No sharp lines, no panic blending, just controlled transitions. You're not smudging randomly. You're explaining to the viewer why the object is round. Same light, same logic. The shape changed, so the shadow had to adapt. And that's how flat shapes quietly become solid. Master the theory, and nothing feels impossible. But remember, more detail doesn't always mean better drawing. Sometimes saying less says more. Learn the rules, use only what you need, and let the viewer's imagination finish the rest. That's where good drawings live. If this helped, hit like. If it didn't, hit like anyway. It builds character. Subscribe for more drawing lessons. I'll see you in the next one. Finally, no more boxes. No cubes, no perspective grids, no geometric peer pressure. Just this blob. Look at it go. Free, organic, unbothered by vanishing points. This is what we call an organic form. Artists love them. They wiggle. They forgive your mistakes. Life is good. Oh no. I guess we'll be doing boxes for a while longer. Because even blobs eventually meet a box. But on a more serious note, I've released the downloadable PDFs completely free. They're fully customized for maximum efficiency and minimum emotional damage. You'll find the link in the video description, so go grab it and give it a try. Seriously, what's the worst that could happen? Let's start with exercise 1, lines. Begin by placing a few points on the page. Then try to connect them with straight lines. At first, the lines will be wobbly. They probably won't be straight. That's normal. Keep going. You'll see improvement faster than you expect. Tip: don't draw from the wrist. Get used to moving your entire arm. It feels strange at first, but it builds control, confidence, and muscle memory. And yes, everyone's lines look bad in the beginning. Exercise 2 is about shapes, squares, triangles, circles. Start simple. For squares and triangles, focus on confident straight lines. Use the same control you practiced in exercise 1. For circles, don't slow down and panic. Use ghosting. Hover your hand above the page. Trace the motion a few times without touching the paper. Then commit. The goal isn't a perfect circle. The goal is a confident one. Miss it? That's fine. Draw another. This exercise trains your brain to see shapes as units, not as complicated drawings. Every complex drawing starts here, with simple shapes done confidently. Exercise 3. Basic shape combos. Now things start getting interesting. Up to this point, we've drawn lines, we've drawn shapes. They behaved, mostly. Now we combine them. For this exercise, I start with 3 very cooperative citizens: a cube, a cylinder, and a triangle. Nothing fancy, no details, no pressure. These shapes are not the drawing. They are scaffolding, temporary, a lie we tell ourselves so the final drawing can exist. The goal here is simple: stack, rotate, overlap, and connect basic shapes until they start suggesting something real. A head, a torso, a character, a thing with opinions. Notice that at this stage, everything is loose. Lines are light. Mistakes are welcome guests. The cube gives structure. The cylinder handles rotation and flow. The triangle adds direction and attitude. Once the shapes feel right in space, only then do we slowly commit to darker lines and clearer forms. If the shapes work, the drawing works. If the shapes don't work, no amount of eyelashes will save it. So don't rush the details. Stay in shape mode. This exercise trains you to think in volumes, not outlines. And that skill carries over to everything you'll ever draw. Yes, even eyebrows. Exercise 4. Rotation. This will look simple, which is how it tricks you. Rotation is where drawings stop being flat and start existing. We begin with cubes, because cubes never lie. They just expose you. Draw a cube. Now rotate to. Not by erasing and fixing, but by thinking. Each face turns. Each edge shifts. Verticals stop being vertical. Horizontals start having opinions. The goal here isn't perfection. It's understanding how a solid object changes in space. Once you can rotate a cube, you can rotate anything. So we upgrade. Now the cube becomes a head. Same rules, same logic, just more emotional pressure. The center line wraps around the form. The eye line curves. The jaw shifts in perspective. If those guidelines rotate correctly, the head rotates correctly. If they don't, congratulations, you've invented a new species. This exercise trains spatial thinking, the ability to turn objects in your mind before you draw them. And that skill is huge. It's what lets you draw characters from any angle, poses that don't break, faces that still look like the same person. Without rotation, you're copying. With rotation, you're constructing. So take your time. Rotate slowly. Mess it up proudly. Because once rotation clicks, everything else suddenly makes sense. Exercise 5. Organic blobs. Welcome to the wild side. Cubes were honest. Blobs lie. They squirm, they twist, they don't want to be contained. Start small. Draw a blob. No rules, no right angles, just a shape that feels like it has a heartbeat. If you want, you can push it, stretch it, squeeze it. Let one side swell while the other caves in. Edges wiggle, curves protest. There's no symmetry here, only personality. Or just start simple. 2 blobs, one on top of the other. Not spheres, not perfect ovals, just sausages. They lean, they wobble, they have ideas about balance. Draw lines defining their shape. That's the secret.
Exercise 6. Line weight. Your blobs have lives now. They wobble, they lean, they breathe. But they're still flat, still waiting for a little magic. Here's the trick. Line weight. Think of it like the blobs are whispering secrets about light and shadow. Where the shadow falls, thick lines. Where the light hits, thin lines. Not because it's correct, but because it feels correct. The thick lines push, they hold, they anchor. The thin lines float, they breathe, they invite the eye to move. Take your 2 sausage blobs. Trace the bottom curve where shadow gathers. Heavy, bold, proud. Trace the top bump where light caresses. Light, gentle, hesitant. Watch how instantly, suddenly, they have volume. They are no longer flat sausages. They are sausages with dignity. Exercise 7. Shadow line. Weight gave them dignity. Now, let's give them depth. Shadow isn't just darkness. It's honesty. It's gravity. It's where the sun refuses to go. Look at your 2 sausage blobs stacked. Where does the light fall? Bright, exposed, teasing edges. Where doesn't it fall? That's your shadow. Thick, soft, heavy. Under the top blob, behind the bottom blob. In the little creases that peek at you shyly. Drop a shadow there. Let it follow the curves. Let it connect the blobs to the surface. Let it anchor them. A shadow is not punishment. It is proof. Proof that your forms exist, that they occupy space, that they matter. This exercise trains your eye to see the invisible. Exercise 8. Texture. Your blobs have weight. Your shadows have honesty. Now let's talk skin. Let's talk surface. Let's talk texture. We're no longer drawing soft, wobbly sausages. We're drawing a boulder. Solid, ancient, moody. Full of stories it refuses to tell at first glance. Texture is what separates a flat shape from a thing that feels. Cracks, bumps, scratches, moss, grit. Every little imperfection whispers, I exist. This exercise trains patience and observation. It's what lets you draw. Surfaces that tell stories, rocks that feel heavy enough to trip over, forms that invite touch, not just sight. Texture is not decoration. It is life. It is history. Without it, your boulder is a shapeless block, a cube, and we don't want to get back there. So touch it with your pencil. Feel it with your eye. Push your marks boldly, or gently, or even messily, because every line, every mark, every little imperfection is a heartbeat of the world you are creating. Exercise 9. Same object, 3 versions, or many. Draw the boulder again, then again, and again. Not to make it perfect, but to make it familiar. Each version teaches you something new. One has better shape. One has stronger shadow. One, finally, feels heavy. This exercise is about repetition without boredom, about choosing anything, a rock, a peg, a shoe, a bottle, and staying with it. Because skill doesn't come from drawing everything once. It comes from drawing one thing many times. So draw, repeat, improve quietly. That's how you get good. Exercise 10. 2-minute limit. Pick any object. Set a timer. 2 minutes. That's it. No extensions, no mercy. Start drawing. Stop when the timer ends. No fixing, no apologizing. Repeat once more. This exercise teaches prioritization, confidence, seeing big shapes first. If it looks rough, good. That means you're learning faster. Write 3 things you could improve. Start again. If this helped, hit like. If it didn't, hit like anyway. It builds character. Subscribe for more drawing lessons. I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to check the video description for the link to the free PDFs. While you're there, drop a comment. It means the world to me. Cheers! Hello and welcome back. Today is actually a special day because we did it. 1,000 subscribers. Before anyone asks, nope, don't panic. YouTube is not paying me yet. I checked 2, maybe 300 times. Still a long way to go. But hey, high hopes for next year though. Seriously, thank you to every single one of you who watched, liked, commented, shared, or quietly stalked my channel at 2 a.m. I see you. The comments have been amazing. So many kind, funny, and slightly unhinged messages, and I truly appreciate every one of them. One I'd really like to do, and I quote, "Hey bro, you should make a vid on how you make the box humans. You know, box body." Which is fair, because apparently my artistic legacy is human-shaped rectangles. Let's get busy. Cue the intro, and let's get started. In this lesson, we're focusing on a single character. We start with one cube, clean and simple. Just structure, balance, and direction. This is still a cube lesson, I promise. It just grows legs. Draw another cube below and rotate it, because now we know how. The rib cage is a box. The pelvis is another box. Everything else connects to these 3. Not anatomy, not muscles, just volume in space. Notice how the torso is slightly tilted. This small tilt already creates movement, even though the character is technically standing. A perfectly straight pose feels static. A tilted one feels alive. Now the legs. One leg carries most of the weight. The other is relaxed. This weight shift is what keeps the figure from feeling flat. It tells us where gravity is acting. If both legs do the same thing, your character looks like a mannequin waiting to be sold. We don't want that.
And here we are. This is how you make the box humans. You know, box body. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, try building your own box humans and then post them in the community. Let's see those cubes strut their stuff. Warning: side effects may include uncontrollable laughter, an obsession with boxes, and slightly better drawing skills. See you in the next one. So, last episode, we built a human out of boxes. A perfectly respectable, slightly confused cardboard citizen. Anatomically correct? Yes. Alive? Emotionally pending. Because right now, our character is standing, but he's not doing anything. Today, we fix that. We are not adding muscles. We are not adding details, and we're absolutely not adding abs. What we're adding today is gesture. Gesture is not anatomy. Gesture is not accuracy. Gesture is the idea of movement. Is the invisible line that tells you where the body is going before the body even knows it. Watch this. I'll take the same boxy character, same proportions, same shapes, and I'll draw one line. A simple curve through the spine. Nothing fancy, no math, no suffering. And suddenly, the character leans. The weight shifts. The pose starts to breathe. The boxes didn't disappear, they just learned how to behave in public. Think of gesture like posture. You can stand straight, or you can stand like you've had a long day and 3 coffees. Same body, very different story. Here's the rule. Boxes equals structure. Gesture equals life. Without boxes, gesture collapses. Without gesture, boxes look like they're waiting for a bus. So your job for this episode is simple. Take your boxy human. Don't erase it, don't redraw it, just draw a flow line over it. Tilt the shoulders, angle the hips, let gravity do its thing. Now here's a second character. Different pose, different attitude. Same logic. I didn't change the rules. I didn't suddenly draw better. I just reused the same boxes, cylinders, and joints and let them dance a little. Notice something important. This character isn't detailed. No muscles, no face drama, no superhero costume yet. And somehow, it already feels alive. That's the point. When the structure works, you can rotate it, stretch it, exaggerate it, or completely mess it up on purpose, and it still holds together. That's not talent. That's construction doing its job. So before you worry about anatomy, before shading, before details, try this. Draw another one, and then another. Change the pose, break the balance, push it too far. If it still works, you're doing it right. And if you want to keep building these with me, step by step, box by box, until this turns into a full character, subscribe to the channel. Like the video if this helped even a little. And share it with someone who's still stuck drawing stiff stick figures. Next episode, we take this boxy human and start giving it proper proportions. If this helped, hit like. If it didn't, hit like anyway. It builds character. Subscribe for more drawing lessons. I'll see you in the next one. Hey, welcome back. Or welcome for the first time. Either way, you're in the right place. Today we're fixing one of the most common drawing problems ever. I don't know why this looks wrong, but it does. And the answer is usually not talent. It's proportions. So let's start simple. No anatomy, no muscles, no suffering, just a mannequin. This little figure is neutral. No personality, no opinions, just standing there, waiting to be judged.
Now this right here, see it? Yes, the head. Our main character today. Today, the head is in charge. Our ruler, our measuring tape, our tiny judgmental unit of truth. So we stack heads. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we stop. Because if you keep going, you haven't drawn a person anymore. You've accidentally drawn a fashion model. Now let's check the arms. Hands usually land around hip height. If the hands hit the knees, congratulations, you've drawn an ape or a character who skips leg day emotionally. Too high? They look tense, like they just heard their name called in class. Now the legs. From hips to ground, legs take up roughly half the body. Too short, the character feels compressed. Too long, and suddenly we're in runway territory. Once you understand this, you can break it on purpose. Stylize it, push it, stretch it. Turn it into a superhero, or a monster, or whatever questionable life form currently lives in your sketchbook. Now, before this turns into chaos, let's park this little guy right here on the side. He's not done. He's just being used as evidence. Because I want to jump back to lesson 11 and talk about the foreshortened boxy character I drew. If you ask around, people will tell you there are no rules for drawing characters in perspective. And proportions? Yeah, that's just experience. And annoyingly, they're kind of right. Here's what I do to keep things under control. Let's draw a box, front view, no perspective, no vanishing points. If you fail here, please stop the video now and politely return to lesson 1. Good. Now let's tilt it backward. I mean, actually tilt it, not kind of maybe perspective-ish. Seriously, if this feels scary, lesson 1 is still open. Alright, let's draw it again below for clarity, because confusion loves company. To find the center, draw the diagonals. Classic, old school, works every time. Now here's the beautiful part. Do the same thing on the bottom box. Boom! Geometrically, the top half and the bottom half are equal on both boxes. Aha! Which means if I draw diagonals on the top half, I instantly know where the center is. No guessing, no vibes, just geometry doing the heavy lifting. Okay, let's use this. Draw the box in perspective. Draw the diagonals. Find the center. Right there. That's where the pelvis box goes. Because we know it lives roughly there. Now let's do it again for the lower part. Draw the diagonals. Find the center. Check the reference. What's sitting there? Exactly, the knees. And just like that, I know where the knees are. I know how long the legs should be, and suddenly the character stops looking emotionally unstable. And that is how a boring box turns into a believable body. Well done. Now let's focus our attention on the top part. Same exercise, same magic trick, diagonals and centers. What lives there? Exactly, the thoracic cage. The fancy way of saying the chest box that keeps everything important inside. And yes, obviously, you can split this into more parts if you want. 1 box,
2 boxes, a deluxe box set. Do whatever helps you understand the form. But here's the goal. With practice, you'll stop needing all these guidelines. They won't disappear because they're wrong. They'll disappear because your brain memorized them. That's when you know it's working. All right, your turn. I've shown you the method for free. Yes, free. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Historians will talk about this moment, so use it. Abuse it responsibly. Don't let it go to waste. This box isn't going to draw itself. Now I want to see what you do with it. Use the community tab. Post your drawings. Ask questions. Share opinions. Start a polite artistic debate. Anything you feel like, as long as it's legal, decent, and doesn't summon ancient spirits. Let me know. Was this helpful? Did it actually make things clearer? Or do you have suggestions for what you'd like to see next? I'm listening. If this helped, hit like. If it didn't, hit like anyway. It builds character. Subscribe for more drawing lessons. I'll see you in the next one. Let me ask you something. Have you ever drawn a pose that looked cool, but somehow also wrong? You don't know why. The anatomy is fine, the perspective is fine, and yet it looks like your character is about to fall over. Let's talk about poses. Not just cool poses, not Pinterest poses, not my character is floating but we don't ask why poses. Real poses, balanced poses. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If gravity doesn't believe you're drawing, we don't believe it either. Look at these 3 mannequins. Simple shapes, boxes, cylinders, nothing fancy. And yet, they feel dynamic. Why? Because they respect gravity. Every pose must answer one question. Where is the weight? If the character is standing, the center of mass must sit above the support foot. If it leans, something must counterbalance. If it jumps, the pose must show direction and momentum. No gravity, no credibility. Let's break one down. Notice the supporting leg. That leg carries the entire body weight. The hips shift toward it. The torso adjusts. The shoulders counter-tilt. Everything reacts. Because the body is not a stack of random shapes. It's a negotiation with gravity. Now look at the second pose. The weight is moving forward. The center of gravity shifts. The planted foot widens the base. Why? Because the stronger the motion, the stronger the foundation must be. Even superheroes obey physics. They just do it dramatically. And this is where most beginners go wrong. They draw limbs first, arms flying everywhere, legs doing ballet in the air. But they forget the simplest thing. If you draw a line straight down from the center of the chest, where does it land? If it lands outside the base of support, your character is falling. And if you didn't mean for them to fall, we have a problem. Equilibrium makes poses believable. Believable makes them powerful. And powerful makes them dynamic. Without balance, your character doesn't look energetic. It looks confused. Here's the key idea. Before adding muscles, before adding costume, before adding details, ask, where is the weight? Where is the balance? Where is the center of gravity? If you solve that, the pose works. If you ignore it, even perfect anatomy won't save it. So next time you draw a pose, don't just draw a figure. Draw the force. Draw the balance. Draw the invisible physics that keeps them standing. Because once gravity makes sense, you can break it on purpose. And that's when things get interesting. All right. You now know about balance. You know about gravity. You know why your character shouldn't look like they're slipping on invisible ice. So, what are you waiting for? Look at this guy. He's not judging you. Okay, maybe a little. but he's offering you something. Not motivation, not talent, not magic. Just this. Take it. Take the pencil. Draw. Not tomorrow, not when you feel inspired, not after watching 27 more tutorials. Now. Because the only difference between someone who improves and someone who keeps researching is this. They pick up the pencil. So take it. And I'll see you in the next one. Welcome back, everyone. And if you're new here for the first time, you picked a dangerous day. I don't make the rules. Improvement does. Today we're talking about something that scares almost every beginner. Drawing poses. In perspective. That's right. Not the polite standing straight passport photo pose. I'm talking about twisting, leaning, coming at you from the page poses. The kind that make your brain whisper, maybe we should draw a rock instead. Too late, we're doing it anyway. So here it is. 5 beginner exercises that actually work for drawing poses in perspective. What a title. So confident. So brave. Cue the intro, and let's begin. Exercise 1. Foreshortened cylinder limbs. First, draw 2 overlapping circles with the same center. Those are your cylinder's ends. Now draw a line at about 45 degrees going downward. That's the axial line, the spine of your cylinder. It tells the form where to go. Without it, your cylinder panics. Close end, bigger. Far end, smaller. Because distance exists. Vanishing points exist. Reality insists. You've just built a cylinder in perspective. But we're not drawing one, we're drawing many. Different angles, different tilts, different rotations. Why? Because poses are built from cylinders. Arms, cylinders. Legs, cylinders. Neck, smaller cylinder. Even fingers, tiny, dramatic cylinders. If your cylinders don't rotate correctly, your poses won't either. This exercise trains spatial awareness. It forces your brain to think in 3D instead of decorating flat shapes. Draw, rotate, repeat, until it feels obvious. Exercise 2. Rib cage and pelvis boxes. Starting from the image, let's draw a new one at a slightly different angle. Start with a line. Just one line. Simple. Humble. That's the spine. It gives your drawing a pose before the pose even knows it exists. Now, 2 boxes. Top box, rib cage. Bottom box, pelvis. Keep them simple, flat, honest. No muscles, no curves, no panic. Boxes don't lie. Boxes don't judge. Boxes are safe. Draw the same boxes again, slightly turned. Then again, with a little more twist. Compare each version. Notice the movement. See how the torso occupies space. Feel how weight shifts. Sense how energy flows. Why do this? Because poses are built from boxes. Arms hang off the rib cage. Legs spring from the pelvis. Everything depends on the relationship between these 2 forms. This exercise trains construction. It teaches you how to simplify before complicating. It forces your brain to see the torso in 3D instead of flattening it into a sticker on the page. Draw, rotate, compare, repeat. until your boxes don't just sit there, they pose. Exercise 3. Gesture. There's a more detailed video on this one that I did recently, and I strongly recommend checking it out. But not now! We'll save that deep dive for later. For now, gesture drawing is your third exercise, and it's a game changer. Gesture is the heartbeat of a pose. It's not about lines, boxes, or perfect anatomy. It's about energy, flow, and intent. A gesture captures what the figure is doing before you worry about how it looks. Start with a simple line of action. Follow it with quick shapes for the torso, hips, and limbs. Move fast. Keep it loose. Don't think. Feel. Let the body speak on the page. Why is this important? Because if you only build from boxes and cylinders, your poses might be accurate, but stiff, lifeless, robotic. Gesture trains you to inject motion, weight, and life into those constructions. It's what separates drawing a figure from drawing a character that moves. So draw quickly. Follow the action. Embrace mistakes. Capture the essence before the details. Do this, and suddenly your poses don't just exist on the page, they live. Exercise 4, rotation drill. This one is easy to explain. Imagine your favorite hero. She hears something behind her. Is the villain following? She's not going to rotate 180 degrees like a cardboard standee. No. She twists. The rib cage turns first. The pelvis resists. The shoulders lead. The head follows last. Now we have tension. Now we have movement. Now we have perspective. That twist between ribcage and pelvis, that's the tricky part. Get it right? Powerful. Get it wrong? Chiropractic emergency. But relax. There is a solution. And it starts with understanding how the upper body and lower body rotate against each other. Not like two separate drawings, but like one connected system. Let's break it down. Draw a big oval. Now find the center. This is our little wheel of twist. Figurine 1. Straight position. Ribcage and pelvis facing the same direction. Slightly to the left of the center of our ellipse. So let's draw it here. Easy. You see now why Lesson 1, Vanishing Points, was such an important place to start? Nothing rotates correctly without perspective holding it together. Now let's move to Figurine 2. The pelvis? Not changing. It's loyal, stable, grounded. But the rib cage, it starts turning slowly, just a few degrees. Now Figurine 3, a little more twist. Pelvis still fixed, rib cage rotating step by step. What we're doing here is isolating movement. One mass moves, the other resists. That resistance? That's where the pose becomes interesting. Keep going around the oval. Small rotations, controlled shifts. Do this on separate pages and flip them. Congratulations. You just made your first animation. Now look at the back view. Where would that sit on our little wheel of twist? Right about here, halfway around. Same structure, same boxes, different orientation. And here's why this exercise is powerful. It forces you to understand rotation as a system, not as random guesswork. You stop copying poses. You start controlling them. You learn exactly how far a rib cage can turn before it breaks the illusion. You learn how twist creates tension, how tension creates drama, how drama creates life. Most beginners draw one pose and hope it works. You build the entire wheel. And once you understand the wheel, you can stop fearing the twist. You control it. Exercise 5. One pose, 3 angles. I'm running low on paper supply, so we're committing to this page. We're not flipping, we're not wasting, we're maximizing. Every corner of this sheet is about to earn its salary. For this one, pick a reference. Any pose you like. Here's mine. I'll just place it somewhere over here. Strategically out of the way. Not hidden, just respectfully distant. Let's draw what we see. Not what we think we see. What we actually see. A couple of boxes, several cylinders placed around the page. A little chaos, that's fine. And there it is. No details, no eyelashes, no dramatic shading session. That's not what we're doing. We're building structure. Details can wait outside. So let's draw this from a different angle. Let's say we're looking at it from up here. I'll draw a little eye right here. That's us. That's the camera. Now think, if we're above the figure, we should see the top of the head. We should see the top plane of the shoulders. The abdomen cylinder, also viewed from above. The pelvis box, same story. Top planes visible, bottom planes hiding. This isn't guessing. This is logic. The right leg is slightly pushed forward. So what should we see from this angle? More of its front plane, more of the top surface. The cylinder turns toward us just a little. The forms open up. You know how to rotate things. You practiced cylinders. You twisted ribcage and pelvis. You built the wheel. Now it's your time to shine. I know you can do it. All you have to do is actually do it. Now let's look at the left hand. The chest is suggesting a twist, which means the hand is reaching toward the right knee. Follow the logic. Rib cage turns, shoulder follows, arm extends. That's it. Again, this is not detailing. No fingers, no knuckles, no manicure session. Do not concern yourself with that right now. We are drawing the pose, the structure, the movement. Details are a reward for later. For now, build it. And if any of you are still here at this point, please drop a quick message. If you're still watching, you're serious about improving, and I respect that. Now let's finish this pose. So, I've held your hand through this difficult time in your artistic life. We faced cylinders together. We survived twisting rib cages. We looked perspective directly in the eye. But now, it's time. Time for you to flee the nest. Spread your little construction wings. Let's have a back view. Same pose, different angle. No new drawing, just new thinking. Now, let's finish this pose. And don't panic, it's not harder, it's just rotated. Wow, if you've made it this far, hats off to you. This was a long and challenging one, and I really appreciate you sticking with me. Let me know if this helped, or if there's anything I should tweak for next time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.